Okay, hello grade 10s. This is a video of the solutions to the practice test. I have also just posted the solutions if you don't want to watch the whole video. But this way, if you weren't sure how I did something, you could watch me do it in real time. Okay, so first, question 1 is to expand. So for us, that basically means FOIL. So for the first one here, I do x times x. I get x squared. X times 5 is plus 5x, 3 times x is plus 3x, and 3 times 5 is plus 15. And then I collect my like terms, so 5x and 3x are both x's, so I get 8x plus 15. And that's it for that one. Next one, same idea. I FOIL, so x squared plus 7x. And here's our first negative coming up next. So negative 1 times x is negative 1x. And then negative 1 times positive 7 is minus 7. Then we collect our like terms. 7x minus 1x is 6x minus 7. So this next one might look weird, but it's actually a lot easier. All you have to do is multiply through by the 3. So 3x plus 6. Okay, next up, we just multiply through by 3x. So 3x times x is 3x squared, and 3x times negative 4 is negative 12x. All right, next one, we multiply through by 2. So 2x squared plus 4x, and minus 30. And finally, we have a hard one. So for this one, what I do is I leave the negative 3 out front, and I multiply through the brackets. So I FOIL the brackets first. So x squared minus 2x plus 1x and minus 2. Then I collect my like terms in the brackets. So negative 2x plus 1x is minus 1x, and then minus 2. And finally, I multiply through by negative 3. So I get negative 3x squared. Negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. No x times an x gives us an x. And then negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. Okay, so there's number 1. Number 2 is common factoring. So when I ask you to common factor, I basically mean tell me what you can get out of both terms. So the first one here, we have y equals x squared minus 5x. So I can take an x out of both. And remember, we're dividing. So if I take x out of x squared by dividing, I'm left with x. And if I take an x out of negative 5x, I'm left with negative 5. The next one, 2 and 10, well, I can take a 2 out of both. And since they both have at least one x, I can take an x out of both. And now if I do 2x squared divided by 2x, the 2's cancel out. And if we take x out of x squared, we're left with a single x. And then if we do positive 10x divided by 2x, we get plus 5. And that's because 10 divided by 2 is 5, and x divided by x cancel out. Next one, whenever we have a negative out front, we always take out the negative. In this case, we can also take out a 3 from both terms, because 3 divides into 3 and 18. They both have an x, so we can take an x out of both. For this one, we're left with an x. And then 18x divided by negative 3x is negative 6. Because positive 18 divided by negative 3 is negative 6. And x divided by x cancel out. Next, we're asked to factor a difference of squares. So you remember a difference of squares is two terms when you're subtracting, and both terms are perfect squares. So if we do this, we basically take the square root of x squared, which is x. The square root of 25 is 5. And then we have x plus 5 times x minus 5. And the reason that this works out is because when we expand this, we FOIL it, we get minus 5x plus 5x. Minus 5x and plus 5x cancel out, and we don't have a middle term. Next one, again, two terms that are subtracting. The square root of x is x, and the square root of 49 is 7, so plus 7 minus 7. Same deal here, except for this time we have x plus 9 and x minus 9 because the square root of 81 is 9. All right, moving right along. Now we're into the normal factoring. This is the harder stuff. The first question, we need two numbers that multiply to 12 and add to 7. So I think about numbers that multiply to 12, 1 and 12. I can't make 7. 2 times 6 is 12, but it doesn't add to 7. 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 and 4 add to 7, so we have x plus 3 and x plus 4. Remember, if you wrote x plus 4 and x plus 3, that's fine too. All right, next one. We need two numbers that multiply to negative 24 and add to positive 2. So that means we know that we need x plus and x minus. And now we go through the numbers. So 1 and 24, we can't add those to get 2. 2 and 12, no. 24 divided by 3 is 8. 8 and 3 do not make 2. 24 divided by 4 is 6. Okay, so we know our numbers are either plus 6 and minus 4, or minus 6 and plus 4. Well, if we add negative 6 and 4, we get negative 2, but we want positive 2. So we know it's plus 6 minus 4. Okay, next question. Again, two numbers that multiply to negative 24, just like here, but this time they add to negative 2. So again, we have x plus and x minus, and we're actually kind of lucky because we just looked at these two numbers, and we know that that is the answer. All right, this is the hardest type of factoring I'll have you do. This is where first you have to common factor. So we get to common factor first, so we can take a 2 out of everything. So 2 and then x squared plus 1x minus 12. And now we keep the 2, and now we need two sets of brackets. We need two numbers that multiply to a negative, so we know we have a positive and a negative. And those two numbers have to add to positive 1. So in this case, the numbers are plus 4 and minus 3. And again, I just do that by investigating on the calculator. Next question, first I factor out the 4. 8, I believe. And now I need two numbers that multiply to negative 8 and add to negative 2. So if they multiply to negative 8, we know there's a plus and a minus. 1 and 8 don't work. 2 times 4, we could definitely get 2. And since the middle number is negative, we know that the bigger number is negative. Next one, I'm going to take out the negative 2. So x squared. 16 divided by negative 2 is going to be minus 8x. And negative 24 divided by negative 2 is going to be plus 12. So now we need two numbers that multiply to a positive, but they also add to a negative. So if they multiply to a positive, it's plus plus or minus minus. But if they add to a minus, it must be minus and minus. So 12 divided by 1 is 12. I can't make 8. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And those are my numbers. 2 and 6 make 8. Negative 2 and negative 6 make negative 8. All right, these last two are the tricky couple. Step 1, if you can common factor, do it. So both of these we can take out a 2. And then we get x squared minus 4. Now, in the brackets, we have two terms that are subtracting. So if both of these are perfect squares, square root of x squared is x, square root of 4 is 2, they are perfect squares. That means that we have a difference of squares in the brackets. And just don't forget that 2 out front. Next one, again, we take out the negative 3 first, and we get x squared minus 9. And again, we have a difference of squares. So we have x plus and x minus. The square root of 9 is 3. Again, this isn't a lesson, right? My hope is that you did these already, and you're just checking to see if you got them right or where you went wrong. So if it feels like I'm going fast, it's because the expectation is that you tried these and you're just kind of fixing your mistakes. And again, you can pause, slow it down, go back, watch it again, whatever you need. All right, here we go. This is a big question. We got a lot of stuff together here. So first, we got an equation in standard form, and we want to know what's the y-intercept. You might remember, that's the y-intercept. Okay, so B, factor it. So x squared minus 7x minus 8. So two numbers that multiply to negative 8. And remember, there's no number in front of the x squared, so we don't need to common factor. So x plus, x minus. And two numbers that multiply to 8 and add to 7. So 8 and 1 are the numbers. So it's either plus 8 minus 1 or minus 8 plus 1. 8 minus 1 is plus 7. We need minus 7. So it's x minus 8 and x plus 1. The zeros are x equals, from this bracket, remember we changed the sign, and from this bracket we changed the sign. So to get the vertex, there's two steps. Step 1 is the x value, which is the same as the axis of symmetry. And to do that, we add the zeros, and we divide by 2. So negative 1 plus 8 is 7 divided by 2, so it's 3.5. Step 2 is the y value. And for that, we take the factored form. So y equals x plus 1, x minus 8. And we sub in 3.5 because we know 3.5 is the x value. And if we know x, this will give us y. And then 3.5 minus 8. 3.5 plus 1 is 4.5. 3.5 minus 8 is negative 4.5. So that's a check right there. These two numbers are the same. That should say 4.5. Those two numbers are the same, but one's positive, one's negative. So if we multiply them, we get 20.25, and it's negative because we have a positive times a negative, and therefore vertex is 3.5, comma, negative 20.25. Okay, moving on. Now we've got the tips. This is tricky, especially because it's going to be hard to see everything at once. Let's go 100%. All right, so we have to match each thing here with each thing over here. So let's check this graph first. So this graph has zeros at negative 3 and negative 2. It's got a y-intercept of 6. And the axis of symmetry is negative 2.5. So let's see here. Y-intercept of 16. It's not that one. Zeros are 4, no. This equation, x squared minus 6x plus 9. Well, we know that this is the y-intercept, and ours is 6, so it doesn't work. Y-intercept of 0, comma 6. Oh, that works. And no zeros. Oh, we have 0, so it can't be that one either. X squared plus 5x plus 6. Well, if we factor this, we get x plus 2. X minus 3, so x plus 3. So the zeros are x equals negative 2 and negative 3, and the y-intercept is 6. So that checks out, negative 3 and negative 2, and y-intercept of 6. So this one's number 1. And I was asked to write the number. I guess it didn't ask me to explain, but this is my explanation here. Next one, x squared minus 16. So let's factor that. So it's a difference of squares, so it's going to be x plus 4, x minus 4. So the zeros are x equals negative 4 and 4. Oh, look at that. Right there, number 2. Number 3, let's factor that. 2, and then x squared plus 3. Ugh, that's just weird. Let's skip that one. All right, next one. Y equals x plus 2 and x plus 8. So the zeros are x equals negative 2 and negative 8. So let's take a look here. Y-intercept of 0, comma 16. Oh, if we FOIL this out, the y-intercept is 2 times 8, which equals 16. So that's the one. That's got to be the one right there. All right, so that's number 4. Okay, next one, we got a graph. So we've got a 0. What's this? Ugh, I don't know. That's 5. That's weird. What's the y-intercept here? Looks like the y-intercept is 9. So we got a y-intercept of 9. So this says y-intercept of 6, so it can't be that one. We've already done the other one. Oh, the y-intercept is 9. So it's got to be that one. And that means that this has to be this one. Oh, there you go. Look at that. Y-intercept of 6. Y-intercept of 6. It says it has no zeros. And you might remember when we factored it, it looked weird. So there you go. Those are your answers for that one. I won't give you a question like this because it'll be too hard to do online. But there's good information in there anyway. All right, last part. Explain why this and this are the same. So hopefully you can look at that and know that they're the same. So if you said something, oh, my mouse is dead. Okay, so if you said something like this, or you could say the order of the brackets doesn't matter. All right, now, do you think that's worth 3 marks? Probably not. It's a 3-mark question. So I said here you may use illustrations or calculations. So let me show you this. We're going to FOIL. Y equals x minus 6, x plus 6. And we get y equals x squared plus 6x minus 6x minus 36. Or y equals x squared plus 0x. We can just ignore it. Let's FOIL the other one, and hopefully we get the same thing. X plus 6, x minus 6, y equals x squared minus 6x plus 6x minus 36. Those negative 6x and positive 6x cancel. And then you could say, same. That's proof, right? If you FOIL them both and they're the same, then they're the same. So this is 3 marks. Explain in words how you would graph this. Okay, so let's say step 1. The y-intercept is 6. Plot it at 0, 6. Step 2. Factor it and find the zeros by changing the signs. Then plot the zeros. And then I would say step 3, go halfway between the zeros to get the axis of symmetry, which is the x value vertex. Plot dotted line for axis of symmetry. Step 4, plug the value from number 3 into the factored equation to get y value of vertex. Plot the vertex. I'd say step 5, plot the bonus point by reflecting the y-intercept over the axis of symmetry like a mirror. And then step 6, draw a nice parabola through the points with arrows at the ends. So this is an important question to take note of, mostly because I'm not going to have you graph, because a lot of you won't have graph paper. You're doing it at home. It's really awkward and it'll be difficult for you to do. So make sure you can explain this. You'll notice with this question, I didn't actually use, other than the 6, I didn't factor it and find the actual numbers. I just explained how I would do it. And this is a perfect answer, right? Like, I didn't say what are the zeros and all that. So you can just explain. So that means if you're not good at the arithmetic part, at the finding the numbers and the plugging in, you can still ace this question just by knowing what the steps are. Okay, that's it, folks. The test will be posted Tuesday morning, so May 12th, I believe, at like 8 a.m., and you'll have pretty much the week to do it. So nothing else new this week, okay? I know it's like slow at times, but like frankly, a number of people aren't doing anything. I don't want to go too fast, and some people are working a lot, so I'm trying to make this as easy as I can and as accessible as I can. And please, if you want to meet and do like a Google Meet together, I can work through some questions with you. Whatever you need, just let me know, and I will do my best. Okay, folks, good luck.